Welcome to Station WBMCT, Black Middle Class Talk, where we talk, get down, throw the communication around, message, receiver, feedback. Let's get it on. Your host, CC, and your co-host, EB. Let's talk, communicate. All right. Welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome to Station WBMCT. As it said earlier, I'm your host, CC, and we have my co-host, EB. And just want to thank everybody, whoever's listening later or listening live. I know we're in the midday on Wednesday, every Wednesday. People are probably working, but that's fine. I'm just thankful for the people who subscribe and the people who listen. And hopefully we are sharing information that maybe you didn't have before. And always feel free to hit that email that you're going to see and send us some suggestions or some topics that you would like to hear discussed. And as always on the show, we have 4 segments to this hour show. The first part is domestic and international news. The second part is the subject. The subject of the day is going to be politics and religion. And then the third part of the hour will be whatever subject we pick off the topic board that you see when the show comes on. And it's just going to happen today to be the same thing, politics and religion. So we're going to really have 30 minutes on politics and religion. But the subject is more specific. And then the last part, we leave it on a little high note for entertainment, just kind of be positive on the end. And before we go into domestic and international news, I know sometimes we get caught up on the first part of the show, and sometimes we don't get to the subjects that we want to, but I'm just going to give a summary. I know EB is going to have something, but the war is a total disaster. We've lost the war. Don't fool yourself. Billions of dollars down the drain. Everybody could have held health care by now. Schools could have been rebuilt by now, good roads by now, but we just blew it up overseas just like that because of an idiot. Then we have the Nolan Wells case. I don't know if there's anything new in the Nolan Wells case besides the joint autopsy between the family and the lawyers, the state, rather. And then the judge was removed from the case in the Kamala Anthony case, and that's in Texas. The young man that stabbed the young black man that stabbed the young white man. I don't even know if they were men, what age they were. I think they were still under 18. Yeah, so the teenagers, sorry about that. That's very important. And so they did remove the judge for the appeal process, and that seems right to me. That's fair because a 35-year sentence for what could have been argued as mutual combat. I know the guy might have brought a knife, but 35 years, that's almost a life sentence for the young man. And then, of course, locally we have Mary Love. That's really what I wanted to mention. The mother evidently called 911. This is a local case in Mundelein near where we are stationed here in Waukegan. But this is a local case where the mother called 911 for police assistance. Police come, her daughter's having an episode, and so you already know the end of this story. Cop shot her very fast. She had a knife in her hand, but you have to see the video. Just look it up, Mary Love. And you'll find in Mundelein, you can make your own decisions. I know there's a protest going on for that. Just want to mention that because that's local. And that's pretty, and China is dominating the technical world market. So, but EB, go and kick us off with what you standardly do every show. Just get us started.
Okay, well, thanks again. Welcome aboard to BMCT. Okay, the news that I have for domestic is, first of all, well, it seems to be domestic, and as we speak about all the time on this show, is that our domestic news is usually tied into international news. Okay, domestically, our president has told the Secretary of Defense, or the Secretary of War, as you would have it, to stop doing training exercise with South Korea. And it's something I've been in Korea, as a former military person. I've been in Korea, and I know the reason why they're having those exercises, that they're in preparation if any time that North Korea ever comes over, that they are prepared to defend themselves. But he's telling them to scale back on it. And he got on national TV, and I know ain't nothing I can say out of my mouth that's going to surprise you about this man. He said that him and Kim Jong-un has a good relationship. What the hell does that have to do with security of of South Korea, which is a United States ally, as well as the United States? We have U.S. servicemen and women that's serving over in Korea. So I guess the next thing he's going to probably do is draw down.
Right.
He's going to probably take some of them out of South Korea. It just seems like...
Is this by orders of Putin, or do you think... Because I heard that he had a once-a-week talk with Putin, the way I understand it. At least once a week he talks to Putin. And so from what I can tell, Putin is in charge, even with the soldiers being abandoned out in the Middle East there on the ship, the Lincoln, out in the Persian Gulf. They're out there surviving without food, just inadequate. So maybe this is Putin's work.
Well, and the only reason I would, that's a good point, is that I think that it's Putin's work is because Kim Jong-un, which is the president of North Korea, is that Russia is importing people from North Korea to help in his war effort.
In Ukraine.
Right. So that is probably the reason why you're saying that probably is a Putin thing, right, to say, hey, won't you scale back on that training that they're doing in South Korea, I guess to make Kim Jong.
And let's clarify, because before we go, some people might not know, because you're a military guy, you've been overseas, you understand the demographics
Korea, yes,
and the geographics of war, in that aspect. You've been to South Korea. So let's make it clear, everybody understands, South Korea is a democratic part of Korea. Korea as a whole is a big country, but it's divided in North Korea and South Korea. South Korea is more democratic, right? It ain't more democratic. It
is democratic.
And North Korea
is
communist.
Yes.
And they're supported by China, right?
Yes.
And Russia.
Yes.
Right? So just wanted to make sure everybody's on the same page geographically, and that's in the Pacific. And that's also where Taiwan is at. That's the big, that area. That's what we call what's the term military give it? PACAF, or the military. Anyway, it's the Far East.
Right. Yeah. And that's why, when you say it, is this Putin? And that's so a lot of the folks that listen knowing that, why would you would think, well, why would Putin have anything? But then again, to tell the story about is that Putin is the one that probably made the call to Trump. But then again, Trump said in his little briefing is that him and Kim Jong have a good relationship.
Right, well, they do.
But what that got to do with us providing security for South Korea.
And I think this is more alarming than we're saying.
Yes, exactly.
Because what it looks like to me is a transition, and this is a transition of the world order, where we're becoming more of a communist country, according to making us supporting communist countries than we are democracy. It's clear. But I don't want to spend too much time on the nut job.
Right, okay.
But go ahead.
Okay,
what's
the next thing that we have on is the morale and the suicide rate that's on the Navy ship, the USS Lincoln. These individuals have been out to sea for 9 months, and excuse me, being out sea on a deployment for 9 months is not a bad thing for the Navy. But then again, they normally during that time they have port calls. But for 6 months straight, they've been out in the and because of Bahrain has been getting bombed, that cut back on the supplies that they get, and so they're not being supplied the same way on those ships. So they have shortages of food.
Right.
And
I saw that.
Right.
Now what you and what the headline said was that Hegseth, who's the Secretary of Defense, had hid the information that Iran had blew up one of the bases, a military supply base.
Right.
Thus, you see the connection. It was a strategic move on Iran to blow, and we're doing the same thing. That's war. You got to blow up the communications line and, of course, the supply line. And Iran was obviously successful in blowing up at least one, supply line, at least the main one, because if people on the ship don't have the basic adequate food, you've done very well if you're the enemy. And we just blowing up things randomly. How many? We in the tens of thousands of bombs that we bombed Iran with. So, yeah.
And their leader is still in place.
They're still in control of the strait. This guy's going to try and pull a fast one and say we're going to make the strait a territorial.
Yeah, he said on Twitter yesterday, said U.S. territory.
It's just,
but then again,
yeah, he's in the dream world.
Right.
Okay, and getting to this Merriwell. Now, this is local. We come in a little local news now. I know we're covering a lot here and so forth in 15 minutes. But the Mary Love case in Mundelein, you've been following that?
I haven't, but I saw it when, he shot a thing. But then again, I just know a lot of the stories is that they go underground real fast. And like you said, I haven't gotten any feedback other than the fact, and it's this young lady that, and when she was out on the patio when the cops came, and that's when she came and she opened the door, she had the knife in her hand, right? Well,
the video I saw, and the family is disputing this now with the video. They're saying the video's been edited, which don't discount that. I've experienced that and seen that happen, me personally, with the video being edited from the police. Did a FOIA request for I was in an accident, and I went down to get the police report, and there was another young lady there that was making a report for a missing sister. Now, I was there, and her and the person she was conversating with, they got in a little fiasco there, because the lady was waiting, and the cop didn't want to take the report, which is against the law. And when I left, it was such disturbing to me that the cop wouldn't take the missing sister. And so I did a FOIA request to see the video, and I do remember it was clipped. Some of it was cut out, well, at least one portion, that is. So I'm just saying, I'm going to bear witness that could happen. Okay, but the video that they see in this Mary Love video, she's sitting out on the patio. The cops come in, they have an altercation with the mother. I don't know what that was about. Oh, they wanted to get the mother out the air, out the room, looked like, and the mother didn't want to go. I called 911, my daughter's having an issue. And so they're manhandling the mother. And the young lady's outside, Miss Love is outside evidently they said with a knife. And so I guess Miss Love, the young lady with the knife, hears the commotion, comes toward the door, the patio door. Cop, as soon as she opens up the patio door, she stands there for at least a second. Not like she's rushing in. Right. It's just she's concerned for her mother. You guys are manhandling my mother. But she stops at the door. That's what I saw, rather. Cop opens up on her. I think at least 3 shots. I think multiple shots, the paper says. So it's worth pulling up and looking at the video. Make your own decision. But it's an active case going on. And the coroner did rule it a homicide, but that's just a technicality because it is a homicide, but now is it justifiable homicide or just, first-degree murder or second-degree murder? I don't know, but that's what they make courts for. And so that's what we had. I wanted to mention that. And also they're going to have, a friend of mine sent me a message on, they're going to have, I'm trying to say, on the 24th, on Monday, I think they're going to have a protest at the City Hall, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll just want to mention that. I definitely want to get that on that. That's local, and that's a police shooting, which is not unusual, murder. So, and before we close it up, Nolan Wales, you didn't have anything on that? Okay.
Nothing new.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything in the news?
No.
Okay, good. We're going to go to the second segment. We're going to talk about speak on our subject today, which is politics and religion, and we'll be right back to continue that subject.
And so,
All right, we're back. Today's subject is politics and religion. And I'm thinking about this on the top of my head, this election in Michigan. And I can't remember the Muslim guy who's
yes. Okay.
Uh-huh. And so it appears that he didn't get much black support. Yeah, that's, he won, but he won, he got some black support. And I was wondering, politics in religion, and he's a Muslim. Now I'm wondering, is it because he didn't, I think black people in Michigan got an issue with of the others not supporting Kamala Harris. And Muslims are the ones that really stuck their neck out when Kamala was running to defame her as far as, being a female and so forth. And of course, they don't say the black thing, which most of the country has a problem with that. But it's just the fact that we always talk about this black and brown coalition, the black and brown. And then when it comes down to something like this, you can even look at the election numbers for Trump. The brown tend to go their own separate way. They've made it, so to speak, and to me. And so I think when you the question I would pose to you, does politics, when you vote, do you vote on how does your religion come into your political choice? Or does it?
Well, that's very surprising that what you said. I didn't know that about that the blacks didn't support him, because even though I know it was a primary, so that means that the black didn't support him, but the lady that lost, and she was the incumbent, the one that he beat. That's very interesting. How did he win?
Well, it's more than black people that
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying, so that means that the majority of his support. So that means that just the blacks just didn't go to the poll at all.
I know they voted for the incumbent, as you said, whoever her name, but the guy's named Dr. Abdul El Sayed.
Right.
And he's a Muslim, and he's well educated. But I can see, and by the way, that's a local thing. That's Michigan, and same thing. I always say all politics is local. Yeah. It's one thing to stand outside and judge, but it's another thing to be in that community. And I think that, and by the way, that's just something that that came through in the numbers, that more black people supported the incumbent than they did the Dr. LCE.
But to answer your question is that will I use my religion as to when I'm making a decision about voting? I would have to say that it carries a high percentage. And I'm not saying it's 100%, but it carries a high percentage. Is that if someone is an atheist, I know I wouldn't vote for them.
Okay.
Just based on that. So that, because say all politics are local, but then again, when you consider that if you put somebody, well, let's go like this. Politics, as far as religion. look who we got in office now as President of the United States. You know, he got
The
in
devil?
there. The devil.
Got the devil in
Yeah,
there
yeah,
already?
but I'm saying, but look at the group of people that helped to get him in there, evangelical. But then we've had this conversation
Yeah, that's
numerous
fine.
times before.
Religion?
Religion. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
now
saying?
they voted on their religion.
Right, right. And see, and even when it had that assassination attempt against him, this one person came on there and say, that's a message from God, is that he spared his life for him to be president. I'm saying, but you know, people would take religion and they can skew it any way they want to, turn it around and make it, you know, dress it up to see, because, you know, and I think it's in the, no, I don't think it is in the Constitution, separating between church and state, right?
Yeah, that's the term they use. When you read it, it says Congress shall make no law establishing a religion. In other
Right.
words, you don't endorse religion,
Right.
or prohibiting the exercise thereof. You can practice your religion, and do what you want to do. But as far as the government is concerned, the government, by the First Amendment, should stay out of religion. Now they've totally busted up that line, like you say, when Trump came along. That line has been just obliterated, and in fact, they're to the point now of giving churches money. And that issue is supposed to have been solved a long time ago. So the government gives the churches big money, by the way, and say go out and build homes and feed the homeless and take this government money. And by the way, make sure you put a gay person in your clergy, or that. You get what I'm saying? That's the reason, that little part I put on the end. If you're going to take government money, then you need to adhere to government policies. So that's why you get this in the First Amendment, a clear repudiation of the government joining religion and religion joining government. The First Amendment there is there to protect both parties.
Right.
Protect the government from religion and protect religion from the government.
Right, but then again, but you get a group, that, for what I've seen, is that you've had some black churches that went strongly against Trump, right?
Yes.
They went and pulled those people that, that tax thing or whatever, because they are like a certain group that you
Tax exempt, the
tax
501c.
exempt. Yeah. But they saying is that, but if you're promoting a political,
Right.
that you cannot have that tax exemption. That's one of the things that is called, but that's bull. That's tone up bull, because then again, you got all these other churches, the Grahams and all that go up and go to political rallies, political rallies, and speak on behalf of a president. But then again, they still maintain theirs.
Well, and then you got to, like I say, that the line has been obliterated.
Yes.
So I at this point, but it still doesn't change the First Amendment now. Just because they're breaking the law, there's a lot of things that Trump is doing, obliterating the law. There's treason going on. Treason is against the law, in the code of conduct, but it's going on. I mean, we got so much lawlessness going on, it's hard to keep up. But the First Amendment, that separates, I just wanted to point out that separation of church and state is basically, it's a line in the First Amendment. Very powerful. And
Right, but and so do you think that is contradictory, that we saying that to separate church and state, is that for ministers to allow politicians to come and speak to their congregation?
Right, and by the way, it's a good observation you made there. When politicians always come around to the black churches around election time, now how they work around that, I'm not sure, because black churches have been doing that forever.
Right.
Politicians, that's the first place that white politicians come.
Because they know
They
that's
ain't
where
been
the
there
mass
all
groups
year.
at. They know that's where the mass group
Right,
is.
the strategy is good. That's where
Right.
you get your mass effect. Now, how they work around the separation of church and state, that 501c thing, is kind of touchy, but it's legal the way they do it. I'm not sure what the technicalities are, but I want to say I forgot my point there. But for me, I don't. My politics and my religion is kind of consistent with the First Amendment. I keep them totally separated. I
you're
would
not
vote.
affected
I
by
would
that.
vote for an atheist at the drop of a hat if he knew if he was a good person, knew the right or knew the law. All I need him to know is the Constitution. I don't, because when you get into religion, he might be a Catholic. So he might be pushing a Catholic agenda. He might be an evangelical. He might be pushing an evangelical agenda. I'm not either one of those. You know, I don't want you to be pushing your religion on me. I'm not going to push it on you. But here's the problem when you're in government. You got a big arm. You got a big stick. And what it can come to is the next thing you know, we all going to be bound and kissing the Pope and kissing the ring. Not, I hate to pick, no, don't take, if you're Catholic, don't take it personal. But I just pick because Catholics and the Muslims are two of the biggest religions in the world. And so, in fact, when Trump bombed Ayatollah in Iran, that was their Pope. You know, it's like you blew up their Pope because you didn't like him. That was in our name. In America's name, you blew up another religious leader, a country's religious leader, right? Yeah. So I'm just saying, I'm trying to make my point where I make my stance when it comes to voting or choosing a candidate, no matter who, whether local, federal level, whatever. I don't care about your religion and how you worship God. You know, that's your, because you find out the way I worship God, maybe you wouldn't like mine as much as I don't like yours. Or maybe we would. Doesn't matter. Maybe we'll like each other, but it doesn't matter. All I'm saying is the Constitution is what governs the United States of America, and that's how we stay in a cohesive group, because religion can tear up some things. Religion can tear up relationships and just destroy countries, as we see. So I just wanted to point that out when I asked you the question. You were saying that.
And now, because I'm an open-minded person as far as like hearing something, you can hear the same thing 360 times, but on the 361st time, it actually resonates. Mm-hmm. And that's a very good point. Like you say, I don't care what your religions are. I care about you and, knowing what the Constitution is and doing all the things that is appropriate under the law. And you're exactly right. So, so you converted me.
Oh, okay. Persuasion.
Yeah, you persuaded me.
Yeah, and by the way, it's funny you should say that, because I feel that's what politics should be about. Persuasion. Religion should be about persuasion. If you can't persuade me, don't get the government coming down over to my house saying I got to come to church on Sunday. But persuade me, why I need to come to church. That's what it should be all about. Persuade me that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and I should believe him. Persuade me. You know what I mean? Persuade me that you're going to do the right thing when you're running your campaign, that you're not just going to go willy-nilly on your own accord and your own judgment, so to speak. You didn't even consult with your constituents. That's called following the law. Persuade me that you're going to follow the law, and I will vote for you. But you're right. That's what we should. In fact, that's what this show is about. Talking and persuading one another, not yelling and screaming at one another. That's not a good communication tool when you think that your way or the highway. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's a very good point, because saying it ain't about. But then again, but that in this day's society, that's what sells.
You're right.
That was because it's funny. I've had a couple of my friends that have watched our podcast, and they made the point. They say, you know what, y'all really ought to talk about things that about some of the subjects that they gave me. Right? They talk about, but but all those things are things of the world. I mean, of the things that's like, this one of the stories that I'm gonna watch this like over 50 group, and they talk about they over 50 and single, and what they're talking about is it's the thing related. So they say that's the thing that I connect with. I'm like, okay, but everybody ain't single, you know what I'm saying? But then again, these are things that has the things that we talk about have a lasting context to things that goes on that affects our lives and the next people's lives and the next people's lives. That stuff that you're talking about who slept with who and who slept with that, that right there is just in that moment, and that's just them people, you know what I'm saying? But
And since you said that, hey, he's got the email. The person has the email. Email it, and we'll talk about it. I
Right.
see a conversation there
Right.
in relationships,
Right.
and there's a definite conversation there, especially with black relationships.
Right.
And we always talk about the interracial pickup these days.
Right.
It's just noticeable. And so maybe that I don't have no problem talking about that, but the person's got to call or send us an email
And bring it in.
and bring it in. We have that conversation. So I'm gonna encourage anybody listening to do that. The email is right there. Just email us. I love to have that conversation because it's definitely needed to. But now, but we're gonna go on this break. When we come back, we're gonna continue this subject, but I want to talk about black Republicans since we were mentioning that earlier to talk in our continuing out. So the third quarter that's coming up is going to be about our subject board, and we're going to kind of squeeze in black Republicans because they kind of capture both religion and politics. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back for the third quarter and continuing on with politics and religion. We were just talking there in the break. One of the special Republicans that, when you bring it up, besides Clarence Thomas, I think the number two Republican would be Tim Scott. And if you don't know Tim Scott, well, this probably ain't the conversation for you because Tim Scott is a black Republican, and he's total. I would call him MAGA. He's the black politician that stood on stage with Trump at one point and told him that he loves him, and that stood out to all the black folks. This man's a bona fide racist, might even be the grand dragon of the KKK and Tim Scott embraces him. And you were saying that Tim Scott was married to a Caucasian woman, which and by the way, have no problem with those interracial marriages. Don't get me twisted. The only problem I have is when you say I'm in an interracial marriage because of black women are X, Y, and Z. And that kind of, that to me, that's a type of bigotry and prejudice. I remember I was working in corporate America. This white guy, I knew he was married to a black woman. And this dude was totally bigoted. And so I came up with that phrase. In an interracial marriage, it doesn't prove that you're not a racist or you're not bigoted. It just proves that you're married to a woman or a man of the opposite race. As far as liking people, hating people, whatnot, it just doesn't have any. It's irrelevant. But with Tim Scott, he's a Republican and he's a religious guy. What do you think about black Republicans? What is their thing? Can you help me?
The thing that I have, in USA, I think it's something that me and you always, be battling. Well, I just say for myself that I battle with is that everybody is that we always talk about in this world of people and their rights. Everybody, you have the right to be whoever you choose to be. But what I've seen with most of the black Republicans is that they feel that they have to assimilate to actually be accepted. So you said Tim Scott, the other guy named Byron Donalds
Oh, yes.
from Florida. You know, during the last campaign, he was caught on tape, you know, just at a bar smoking cigars, and he said that slavery wasn't a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? So they have to make themselves appear, you know, whether they believe that or not, they make themselves appear is that we are not a threat to what y'all represent.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
which is white
right,
supremacy.
right, yeah. So it say I can be a part of this, and I'm not gonna make no waves, and that's what I've seen with mostly black Republicans.
Because they're like, pull yourself up by your own bootstrap.
Right, yeah, like
Which is, if you think about it, that phrase, if somebody came to you and told you to pull yourself up by your own bootstrap, that means take your strings of your shoes and stand up. You know, go up the ladder, which is impossible. It's an insulting type of phrase. And by the way, let's bring everybody up to speed with McDonald in Florida, because he just won the nomination,
for the
Republican nomination to run for governor just last night, right? And he's going up against an ex-Republican on the Democratic side, Jolly. His name is Jolly. He used to be a Republican, but he switched over to Democrat. Right. So Florida is a big. That's the state to watch, because they gerrymandered their state. They first they gave the ex-cons a right to vote, and then next thing you know, by law, you know, because in Florida, if you get a felon, you can't vote, and so when they went and voted, you know, they got the law passed by the people's will, and the black ex-felons, you know, they could vote now. They go out and vote, and almost then changed elections. What did the state of Florida do? Start arresting them. This is bogus. And so, of course, that's going to naturally take down the voting rolls. So I was looking at the numbers last night. It looked like each candidate got 1 million votes, which, you know, if everybody voted on the Democratic side, it wouldn't be no problem. But it looks like it's going to be, even in this time, with a candidate as flawed as McDonald's name, what's his name?
Byron Donalds.
Byron Donalds. As a flawed candidate, of which all the Republicans are flawed, it's going to be a close race for governor in Florida. I mean, Florida is a rigged, you talk about rigged system. Their system is rigged, but I just wanted to bring people up to date on who he is, because you made a good example of something he said. What else you know about it?
But no, I'm just saying, then go back to what you said about, you know, Tim Scott. He get up on there and he talk about his mother and, you know, and how, you know, growing up in the South, and then I just say is that you're not stupid. And, I just say you're not, and you're smart enough to know, you know, you are aware of everything that this man is doing.
Yes.
And then, and to us, you know, and I'm just saying to me, I just speak for me, as a black man, for this man to get up on national TV and tell this man that have done all these things that have portrayed all the racists and, you know, all these things that he's done, and they get up on national TV and tell him I love him, it's almost, to me, and I don't care how they feel about it, it's almost like he's saying, Massa, I loves you. I loves you a lot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just seemed like he tore everything inside of me out to sit there and see a black man sit there and
right. He's a relic from the past.
Golly,
yeah, but he's a relic from the past.
Step and fetch.
And so that's what we have. But I mean, you got plenty of company. Clarence Thomas is the original.
Oh man.
I mean, but I'm just saying that this is nothing new for black people. I don't think, because he's looking out for himself. If you never read a Frederick Douglass book, go get the autobiography of. It's a small pamphlet, that small 100-page pamphlet of the autobiography of Frederick Douglass, and you can see. You could take that book, if you didn't use the master-slave thing, it's still the same concept today. And Frederick Douglass, on his first escape attempt, you know, they didn't work it out, and they're going up to the meeting place. He sees it right away that they've been betrayed by one of their, you know, one in the group. We ready to go free, got our plan. We've been planning this for almost half a year. We're ready to hit the road, and we've been betrayed. And, of course, they get caught and, you know, they get beat down and everything. But, you know, so that mentality that you're talking about, you make a good example, that slave-master relationship. And like Malcolm X say, when the master gets sick, the slave comes and said, "What's wrong, boss? We sick. We sick." You know, he puts himself, his body, his feelings in that of his master, who beats him, cheats him, degrades him, humiliates him, and he has this what is that effect that Patty the
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome.
Right.
And I think maybe we have a touch of that going on, or maybe it's just a straight up just sell out, get mine, and I'm gonna sell out anybody that gets in my way, because the line is shorter on that side for black people. On the Republican side, you got Candace Owens over there who benefited from the Jesse Jacksons and Al Sharptons. Straight up, I read an article where the two of them, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, had helped Candace Owens, and when she was in high school, she was going through a lot of discrimination. They showed up on her behalf, got her over the hump. Next thing you know, she sells them out, and that happens a lot with black people. I think it's a mental. We are mentally damaged people, and that's why I always ask, my thing is reparations should always be on the front burner for black people, because we've been robbed. I mean, robbed, stripped down not only the monetary thing, but our dignity sometimes, I find. Tim Scott has no dignity. Clarence Thomas has no dignity. Donald has no dignity. You don't stand up for anything. You're not appreciative of nothing that your ancestors did, nothing of their sacrifice. You even go a step farther, like you were just saying. This slavery was good for black people. Where you get that from? When the slaves were holding up the country, working for free, bringing their skills. You saying to me that when they came from Africa, they didn't have no skills? That's a lie on his face. You what they did was you stole architectures, you stole farmers, you stole cooks, inventors, looking out,
red light, open heart surgery,
the mask that you breathe when you get in trouble, the military. I mean, air conditioning, you name it. Go look it up.
The cotton gin, don't believe that lie that Eli Whitney made the cotton gin, because if you think about it, why would a white man sit there and like, hey, I need to come up with a way to make it easier for these slaves.
He don't care. So, but I'm just saying, in this Eagle Google search, just say black inventors, George Washington Carver's patents still exist. We can go on and on. That's what you stole. And that's what I'm saying. That's what you didn't compensate. This Stephen Miller, this Trumpster, this KKK Junior guy, I think that's what he was referring to when he was talking about you haven't invented anything, you don't know this and whatever. This racist rant he was going on trying to say people haven't bought anything. He was talking about black people. Right. And he's totally stupid. He's totally ignorant. And that's what I think we have in the country. We got a problem with ignorance. And that's by design. And that's across the board, by the way. Black people, Caucasian people, brown people. It's a state of ignorance. And so that's where we at, I think. You have anything else on that subject?
No, like you say, I and to you people out there that's listening, I apologize for my rant, but it's just something, because I think about all our forefathers, that went through, and all the sacrifice they made, and they died and all for that, and then for somebody else to just give back something like that easy.
Well, but you can go a little farther than that. I keep it simple. With the sacrifice you were talking about, I keep it simple. I say, we got people who won't even bother to go down to the polls, who are very eligible to vote. And I don't get this, both sides are the same argument. It's ludicrous to me. One side, especially today, one side is actively overthrowing the country. And so overthrowing the Constitution, and by the way, the Constitution, I know black people got an argument against the Constitution. I get it. But we're not in 1776 right now. I mean, we're 250 years removed from that, and we've grown. And so we got to keep working. And that's what they were doing in the 60s, and it made a big difference. It's the Voting Rights Act. Now, of course, that's been stripped in 60 years, but you got to keep pushing. You can't quit and say, oh, well, both of them the same. Take that old easy cop out. That's why I'm not even going to go down there and bother to even get a ballot.
Like you bother somebody.
Right there, like it hurts you to go and get a ballot. And even if you don't want a candidate, choose a candidate, go get your ballot and put it in there. Don't have to put it, if you don't like it, don't have to put nothing in there, but what it does is at least it shows that you are active.
Right.
And that's how right now they're actually knocking people off. That's how they won the last election, knocked off about 4 or 5 million black people. And you think if it's going down, that number's going to go up this year, November, I think. They'll knock people. Yeah, you better check your voting rolls, especially if you're down south and below the Mason-Dixon. And they're serious. So just want to mention that. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back with the entertainment section. But also, I want to emphasize to register to vote. Register to vote. Check your voting rolls. This is high stakes now. And like Trump said, if we don't win this one, you probably won't even have to bother going down to the election. I'll be with you there. What's the point? But anyway, make sure you check your voting rolls.
Vote.
So we'll be back in a minute with the entertainment part last. All right, we're back. In the entertainment section here, this Tupac Shakur trial. I mean, it's been how many years since? 30 years. They got one remaining suspect, so to speak, that's on trial right now. I can't remember his name. But, he's been on you go back and watch the old movies of Tupac's murder, he's always in the discussion. His name always pops up. Kofi D, Kofi D. And Dwayne Kofi D. Davis is on trial right now. And I think he's his own worst enemy. And I mean, if he's guilty, he's guilty. That's just the way it rolls. But he was running his mouth a lot in between them 30 years. What do you think about that?
Yeah, he's saying now that he ain't did nothing. He said he's saying that he did that to sell books, which I can say, people always, what they say, what's that word? What's that word when you add something, well, for lack of a better word, exaggerate.
Okay.
They say he exaggerated things in the books to actually sell more copies. But hey, your words can come back to be your worst enemy. But the trial is Suge Knight have said that whether defense or the prosecutor call and say whoever brings him there, because he said he ain't got nothing to do with it, and he said that if they bring him in there, that they gonna hate that they did. Okay, so I don't know what do you mean by that.
What word was the word you're looking for? Embellished.
Thank you.
Okay, exactly. He embellished his resume on his what he's saying. He embellished his participation in the murder of Tupac Shakur. And by the way, for those who don't know, Tupac Shakur was a major rapper, mega rapper back in the 90s, right? Am I wrong?
He's a rapper, an activist, an actor, You know, he had a
Okay,
decent resume.
that's a good resume. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know he did a little jail time too. No doubt. I mean, he did.
Oh, I'm
He
sorry,
made
a felon.
a felon. He did.
I'm sorry.
He made the full round. But you're right. He's an
Completed
activist,
resume.
an actor. I forget
Right.
he played in the movie with Janet Jackson.
Played
In a couple of movies. Yeah. In
yeah.
fact, he was turning out to be a very good actor.
Yeah.
And so he probably would have been right up there with Will Smith. You never know
Right.
if he had to live.
Yeah, 'cause
He was a smart kid. His mother was a Black Panther.
Right.
What was her name?
Fufi.
Yeah. But anyway,
Afina.
yeah. And so his background was loaded as far as, and his rapping skills were just through the
Right.
chart. I mean, this guy was a genius as far as the storytelling, and you can understand them very clearly.
And you know that they use his raps as in African American studies in Harvard, Princeton, and these are all Ivy League schools.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So he's deep.
Right. And it's fun. I'm glad you brought that up. I
Right.
didn't know that, but that
Yeah.
makes sense because, like I said, this rapper, you could understand him. As fast as he was going,
Right.
he was telling a story. And I could follow him. Now, the profanity, that's just something you have to accept when it comes to, I don't know, rap music. Would I be
Right.
wrong to say that?
No, we was talking about rap music. You know, is that during this time because they did the same thing. Don't push me, because I'm close to the edge.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You know.
Oh, you talking about Grandmaster Flash?
Yeah. I'm just saying we talking about what.
Well, that was no profanity.
No. What I'm saying is that Tupac had the ability to use curse words and still the message is received. You know, back then, like you said, don't push me, I'm close to the edge. So in other words, he was talking about things that, Grandmaster Flash was talking about things of that time, Tupac type, but the only difference is that because that's the era that we're in, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, it said that would these messages be any more accepted if it didn't have profanity in it?
Yeah, and that you make me a better point than me. You're talking about Grandmaster Flash. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head.
Yeah.
It's like a jungle. Sometimes it makes me wonder how I keep from going under.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you do. Now, I can understand that.
Right.
Now, Tupac would probably do that same thing. He'd say, he'll start out with but he would be flowing.
Right, exactly.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to make an example because I was, I had to throw some curse words in there. I tried not. I tried to stay away from.
He done music.
Oh yeah, Dear Mama.
Keep your head up.
Keep your head up.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
they
So-
did clean versions.
Right, yeah.
And
No,
that's why I say he was super talented. He could do the rap without
Right.
the cursing at the drop of a hat. But in that era, that's what was happening. Right. You had to give some curse words, and then in fact they purposely pushed rappers out that didn't curse.
Right.
And I think we're probably still there today. In fact, it's even worse today because they push them out if they got anything in the zone that you can understand.
Right.
And today's rap is kind of coded. You got to have the ear for that.
It's
You
just
gotta-
the beat. The beat is what.
Yeah, but now young people understand it, and we get young people online, they can actually understand what they're saying in their rap. I can't. I don't know if they go back and read the lyrics and they were fooling me, but the young people I know that listen to rap actually can tell me what the person is saying.
I go back last week and I was telling you, but I don't know anybody in this day's era but I stand corrected. Kendrick Lamar is to me, today's Tupac.
Okay, and he did an excellent halftime show.
Oh yeah.
With the Super Bowl. Was that a couple of years ago? Yeah, a couple of years ago. He did an excellent, because what I liked about him, he told a story.
Yes.
He told our story in a understandable way.
Right.
And especially that when he put Samuel Jackson in there with that Uncle Sam suit, that was, and that's what I think music should be.
Right.
You should have a message that people can understand. It's about communicating if you're going to sing. I mean, we got a lot of jazz, a lot of, musicals over there. That's a communication with just your instrument. But when you're communicating with your voice, I would like to understand what you're saying. Because
I was listening to a song just the other day, and it just took me back. I'm your mama, I'm your daddy, I'm in the alley, I'm your doctor. If you need me, have some coke, have some weed. I'm your friend, you know me. Pusha Man.
Oh yeah, I know that. You got me amazed. I'm mesmerized.
I know it's over here. Ain't no doubt about it.
You got me mesmerized. I was
right.
But you're right.
But it was
right
a message.
there.
It was a message.
And that was some cursing in there. I'm that
Right.
nigga in the alley, you know.
Right.
Hey, I had to say it.
But see,
he talked about drugs.
Right, exactly.
Because
he's saying that's who I am. I'm your Pusha Man.
Yeah, and
You know
that's
what I'm saying?
right. He's telling the story.
So he's in other words, for somebody that's on drugs, is that Pusha Man's he's everything to him. He is his mama. He is his daddy.
That's right.
He is that guy in the alley. I'm your doctor because I need it. I need a fix.
When in need.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, but although that being said, we was talking about Tupac and that, it's that I think that was somebody that we as a people lost.
Yes.
That because he had a whole lot to me. Me personally, I could have seen Tupac getting totally out of the rap game and went the other route.
Yes.
The acting, the activist and all. Because he had all the skill set.
And by the way, and you make me think of Will Smith again in the last few minutes we got. What do you think about Will Smith at this point? I mean, knowing what we know, how he slapped Chris Rock on the stage, where do you put him at right now? Because he was on that level too, I think he won. Was that what award was that? Oscar night?
Yeah, he won an Oscar.
And he deserved it too, by the way.
He deserved it for the other movie, but go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I might have got my movies mixed up, but he's a good actor. All I'm saying. What do you think about him at this point, knowing all that his career and his work? Where do you put him at? Where do you think black people put him at now? Is he still up there in the high echelons of thoughts and career, or did he come down a peg or two?
He came down dramatically because the fact of it is that you made a point on national TV to show is that how you disrespected another one of your own brothers. Because that same conversation could have been had, when they went to break. He could have walked up the stage or wherever. Chris was like, "Yo, man, I appreciate it. My wife have alopecia. I really appreciate if you wouldn't make jokes about her." But then again, he's saying that he had to make a point. A lot of people say,
and now wait a minute, now you sure did miss a lot of history there. They had history. Up to that point, I think that
history between Chris Rock and because of his jokes.
They won their first, it wasn't his first rodeo. The way I understand it, Chris Rock's first rodeo, and then there seemed to me been a past relationship. There was some dirt in the past between that. Now I'm not justifying what Chris Rock did by no means.
He's a comedian. Let's remember
by
that.
No means necessary am I justifying what Chris Rock did. But I can that part you're talking about is ideal, what I'm saying. But when you hot, when you upset and angry, I've been there, man. I felt like I've seen speakers up on the stage saying stuff. I feel like going up there and slapping them and taking my, knowing I'm about to pay bail, just, count the costs. That's how upset I've been watching people. And so I could understand how he reacted. It was just, just bad. I mean, golly, it's when you wake up in the next morning, you say, man, what was I thinking? And you can't undo that. But for me, his talent still holds true. He's going to always have that niche, like you just said, in his resume. It's unfortunate, but it happens.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but you have built yourself up to this point to be who you are. But then again, a lot I say, and I'm me and somebody got in the argument. I say this real fast. Is that I think that he was played by his wife. That's me. And they say, well, how you say his wife played it? Because if you look at that film, is that when he was up there saying them jokes, she looked at him like, you ain't gonna do nothing about this. You know what I'm saying? But I just say he got played. But then again, hey, like you said,
you might be right on that.
You said there was a lot of underplay.
Yeah, and because she did talk about his performance in public, and then she had the young man on the side. Don't forget all that history that built up on the man, That'd make me want to slap somebody too. So.
But you slapping the wrong person.
Oh, see that now we don't talk about domestic.
Okay.
Next thing you know, he really been slapped this woman around on Oscar night. But that's it for the show today. We appreciate anybody that's viewing. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you email us with any subjects you may have. And as the ancestors would always tell you, stay woke and always, always do the right thing.
Peace and vote.